call to order the Planning Committee. I am Roxanne Murphy, filling in as chair in Jack Weiss's absence, and I'm joined by fellow committee member Councilmember Knutson, and Councilmember Lillquist is then filling in for me as a committee member. We have one agenda item today. It's consideration of an ordinance to rezone approximately 4 acres of land in areas 1, 1A, and 8 of the Sunnyland neighborhood. And Greg, would you take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Council. Greg Ockett, Planning Department. With me is Chris Cook of our staff. So we prepared an ordinance at your direction that would approve the staff's revised recommended zoning for the property. Subsequent to the council packet, a couple of things happened that caused us to want to bring to you a couple of amendments today. First off, we met with the permit center staff. Those are the folks that answer questions from people about what can happen on a particular piece of property, because we wanted to make sure that our intent was very clear in this case, that the development on the property be limited to the toolkit housing forms, to the infill housing forms. And it wasn't all that clear to them. So what we wanted to do was suggest this first change. It's shown in double underline up there, so we would cross out the paragraph above it under special regulations. And the language would read, all residential development is limited to those housing forms listed in attachment 1. And then the change is residential development in area 8 is limited to. So none of the housing forms are changing. It just clarifies the language that the toolkit housing forms are what is required. Secondly, we met with the property owners at length, and we believe that they are willing to give this experiment a try. You can see how excited Dave is about the whole thing. But they did ask, and this was really important to them, they wanted flexibility in terms of providing single-story housing. Right now, the toolkit, if you want to build anything larger than about 1,000 square feet, it really forces you into a 2-story configuration. And this was really important to them, that they have the opportunity, the ability to build a 1,400 square foot 1-story home, a rambler basically. And so the second change, number 3 at the bottom of attachment 1 there, would make clear that that's an option for them, that they could build a 1-story 1,400 square foot rambler on the site. There's a significant portion of the market that's looking for that type of housing. It's for folks who don't want, necessarily like Gene, who don't want stairs in their house because they have trouble getting up and down them.
Thank you, Greg. That's really nice of you. Truth, but that's okay.
So those are the 2 changes that we're recommending to you this afternoon, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have at this point.
Committee, any discussion? Councilmember.
I'm still able to talk, but under the use qualifier mix, a lot of people have been calling saying that means apartments, but it does not.
It does not.
Can you explain that?
The mix just refers to the mix of housing types that's listed below there. They're all single-family housing types.
And down below you have attached accessory dwelling units, but up above where the use qualifier is detached.
Yeah, the detached refers to single-family detached.
Single-family detached, not ADU.
Right.
Okay.
Any other committee questions? Councilmember Lillquist.
Let me start with the iffy thing first. Last night when I was looking this over, I read that little line there about attached accessory dwelling units under provision of 2010-035, and then I actually looked at that section, and it reminded me of what has been a gnawing concern of mine for a while, which is that in single-family areas, we do, on a limited basis, allow attached accessory dwelling units, but the fences on that allowance are pretty wide open. It just says we don't mean every unit. And one of the things when we're talking about accessory dwelling units is that there are a few of these in many neighborhoods, and that's okay. And there are some neighborhoods where there's just a whole lot of these, and that's seen as a threat to the character of the neighborhood. And so I would like us to tighten up that language, and I emailed around suggested kind of quick change Thank you. I'm so glad you brought that. So the current language is underlined there in the middle. It says, it is not the intent of these regulations to provide for accessory dwelling units on every residential property. It's pretty loose, and I'm suggesting down there near the bottom that we just change that sentence to read, it is not the intent of these regulations to provide for accessory dwelling units on a majority of the residential properties. It's not a huge improvement, but I mean, it's at least indicating you can't go over half, and there was no such indication before. What I guess I will do is I will move that this is added as a new section to the existing ordinance. So we have an ordinance that makes 6 changes, and this would just be a 7th change to be added to it. And the reason why I bring it up now is because now the Sunnyland Code points to this part of our code as well.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to amend some language regarding accessory dwelling units discussion.
Greg, I didn't give you a chance to respond to that. Would you please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We have a couple of thoughts. Number one, this change to the code would require a Type 6 process. This is not something that the Planning Commission considered. So if we were going to make a change like this, we would want to go through that Type 6 process. And secondly, Secondly, we are going to be updating the ADU ordinance this year. It's on our work program to do this year. So we could, if council directs, we could make that change at that time.
I'll also say that I would rather we handled this through a separate initiative because I really want to do the most effective community outreach regarding this so everybody has a chance to weigh in on how this would affect them. Councilmember Borneman.
Yeah. Excuse me. Under the table, below the attachment, under number 2D, about detached accessory dwelling units, are those limited to a certain size lot in the code?
Chris Cook from Planning. Yes, they are. The provision in there for both the detached accessory dwelling unit and the carriage house, those are both ADU housing forms. They're limited to be allowed only on corner lots, on a property that's on an alley, or the property has to be at least 10,000 square feet in size. So if it's under 10,000 square feet, it has to be on a corner lot or an alley. If it's not on a corner lot or alley, it has to be over 10,000 square feet.
And in this piece of property, is there any alley?
There is no alley at this time, but this is over a 4-acre site. So in time, as it is planned and subdivided,
Okay.
it could have alleys.
It could have an alley. Okay. But it's alley or 10,000 square foot.
Okay, I'd like to bring it back to the motion of amending regarding ADUs. So I'd like to call a vote on that unless there's more discussion. All those in favor of amending the motion regarding ADUs, please say aye. All those opposed?
No.
No.
That's one way of getting rid of it.
Any further discussion?
Well, I'll move approval of the ordinance with the changes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the ordinance with changes. Is there any discussion on that? Councilmember Lillquist.
Just briefly, a clarification. There's a zoning table here for 8, but not for those little slivers of 1 and 1A. Is that because the boundaries move and those slivers now become part of 8?
Yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, seeing none. So we have a consideration of an ordinance. We have a motion to rezone approximately 4 acres of land in areas 1, 1A, and 8 of the Sunnyland neighborhood with amendments. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See no opposed. We will carry this forward in our evening meeting. Thank you. End of
Thank you.
committee.
Good job. Thank you, Uncle Greg.